Oh nein, das Brot ist so lecker! So, welcome back to my channel. Sorry I was gone longer than I thought I would be. I got sick. So basically what happened was, I got a cold, I got a headache, I felt feverish, I had a sore throat, but it wasn't COVID. So someone out there gave me a cold but they didn't give me COVID, so I don't really know how to feel about that, but I'm back. And today we are learning about Hitler. Isn't that fun? Today's choice of drink is sarsaparilla. So there are going to be a lot of German words in this. If I mispronounce it, kill me. I don't know, do what you want. So it's going to be a relatively longer video, but it's a long subject, so you better start getting into it. So basically for this video I am going to split it up into sections so it's easier to understand, because a lot went on. I'm going from about the end of World War I, so about 1918 to 1933 when Hitler became Chancellor of Germany. So let's get into it, let's have some fun. Okay, so picture it. It's 1918, Germany has just surrendered. You're Hitler, I shouldn't say that. You get what I mean. You've been heavily injured twice in World War I. You've been, awarded 2 Iron Crosses for your, bravery. If you don't know what an Iron Cross is, it's a medal. It was created during the Napoleonic Wars. Oh god, who made them? Who established it? I'm gonna remember this. I'm gonna remember it. King Freddie William III of Prussia. So Germany surrendered, and in November of 1918, a lot of German people felt betrayed by their government. They were like, oh yeah, we're gonna win this war, we're gonna do so and so, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. And then they just surrendered. But not only did they surrender, but they also signed the Treaty of Versailles. Now the Treaty of Versailles was something created by the Allied powers for Germany to sign, to basically say, just admit that they lost the war, but also to pay so much money in reparations that was near impossible. The Treaty of Versailles was on the 20th of June 1919, so just after World War I. They had to pay reparations that was about 132 billion gold marks. So after World War I, Hitler returned to Munich. He was originally from Austria, but I think he just preferred Germany, And in 1919 he decided to join the Workers' Party. So it was a right-wing party started by a man called Anton Drexler. Pretty cool name, not gonna lie. Its initials were DAP, and it was established in Weimar, and when it first started, Hitler, I believe, was its 55th member. Now, you're gonna have to remember this party because this was eventually the party that turned into the Nazis. In 1920, only a year later, Hitler became the main public speaker and propagandist of it all. If you know anything about Hitler and if you've watched his speeches, he knows how to rally up a crowd. I don't blame them for making him the main speaker. He was a very, very persuasive man back in, Depression-era Germany.
Dass ich anständig meine Zeit verwendet habe im Dienste meines Volkes. Gib du jetzt deine Stimme ab. Wenn ja, dann tritt für mich ein, so wie ich für dich eingetreten bin.
Also in 1920 was when they became known as the Nazis. It was changed to the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or NSDAP. Of course, that's quite a mouthful, so it's Nazi. And once again, only a year after that, in 1921, Hitler became the chairman. So when Hitler became the main guy of this party, he wanted a private army, not only to intimidate other parties, but also as a protection for him. And this little army he created was called the Stormtroopers, or the SA, also known as brown shirts because, believe it or not, they wore brown shirts. It mainly consisted of people who fought in World War I and unemployed men. And these men were known to go to other political parties and meetings and just disrupt them completely, so they had no chance of communication with each other, so that the Nazi Party would grow in popularity. Now in 1923 was the Munich Putsch. You need to know a little bit of the situation social-wise in Germany at this point, because Hitler really used hyperinflation to kind of promote what he was about to do. So what happens, as you heard, they signed the Treaty of Versailles and they had to pay reparations. They missed a reparation payment in 1922, and so there wasn't a lot of money. So Germany went, oh, we'll just print more of it. Big no-no. Big no-no. So in January 1922, bread was 250 marks. And by November, it was 200,000 million marks. So, yeah. It cost more to print money than it was the actual worth of the money. So in Munich Putsch, it was a revolution in Munich, in case you didn't know. The Nazi Party at this point had 55,000 members. Remember how I said earlier, Hitler was only the 55th? This is how much it has grown. And Hitler was inspired by, you never guess who? Mussolini for this. Because he marched in Rome in 1922 and managed to get a decent amount of power from it. So Hitler saw that and took inspiration and thought, yeah, I can do that and I will rule Germany. Hitler was with two nationalist politicians at the time, and like I said, if I don't get the names right, please don't kill me. Kahr and Lassalle? So he could take over Munich with them. Now, Hitler organised 3,000 brown shirts to go with him to enforce it even more. But then, K and L, is what I'm going to call them, because I don't want to mess up the names again, called off unexpectedly on the 4th of October 1923, when Hitler organised all these troops. So as you can guess, Hitler wasn't very happy, and by 8th of November 1923, K and L decided to go to a local beer hall. This is very important. Hitler went in there with a lot of essays, waving guns around, threatening people, saying, you're going to have to rebel, and if you don't, we'll most likely just kill you. K and L decided to go, okay, we will, and they will let go. The SA took over the army headquarters, but not only that, they took over the offices of the local newspaper, which is very, very important to know. Well, if you know anything about, news, tabloids, it can influence how you think incredibly. The reason for this is people can twist what they want to say, they can make propaganda, they can make you think anything they want you to think. It's not just about army and brutality, but it's also about, brainwashing people into thinking what you're thinking, even if it's not true. Alas, this did not last long. The next day, Hitler returned to Munich with the SA, and he was expecting, to go into Munich. Oh, I'm in charge of everything now. I took over this little beer hall and the army headquarters. I can rule this. That did not happen. Not yet, anyway. Kay called the police. Yeah, he did. And pretty much a fight broke out. A quick little fight. 16 members of the SA were killed. Hitler fled. Dickhead. And then he was caught 2 days later. Hitler was tried for high treason and was sent to Landsberg prison for 5 years. Not only that, the Nazi Party was considered banned. But, and this is a big but, Hitler was sentenced in April of 1924 and was out by December of the same year. The reason people may think this is because many people had sympathy for Hitler, because they saw him as a rebel, as a revolutionary, trying to change how Germany was at the time, and took pity on him, which might have led to an early release. But not only that, this prison sentence gave the world Mein Kampf. If you don't know what Mein Kampf is, it's My Struggle in German. It was basically a manifesto, autobiography of Hitler, of what he wanted to do, what his life was like, how he can change Germany, and it sold so many copies. And it really pushed him to become what he's known as today. But also, after he left prison, he realised, I can't rebel all the time. I need to appeal to people in order to get up to the top. So what he did, he used democracy, reorganised the Nazi Party, and started being a lot more politician-like, rather than like a rebel. So the next part I'm going to be talking about has been coined the lean years. The reason for this is because the Nazi Party was getting popular, but also wasn't really working out In 1925 they had 27,000 members, and by 1929 they had 130,000 members. So there's the growth. But the Nazi Party did not gain many seats in the Reichstag, which is the German parliament. In 1926 there was a conference in Bamberg. This happened on the 14th of February. Now in the Nazi Party there was a north section that was a bit more socialist and kind of wanted, more so worker support. And this was kind of led by a man called Gregor Strasser. All in all, it was a bit more socialist in what they believed. Whereas the North was a bit more nationalist, a bit more Aryan believer, didn't really like the Jews very much. And these were more on the side of the farmers and the richer people. So Hitler said at this conference, I wrote it down, and all I wrote, for future reference, thanks Ellie, no commie shit. Brilliant. So Hitler did not want to be associated with communists at all. He didn't want to take land from richer people because he needed their support in order to get more seats in the Reichstag. But also, Hitler created a thing called Leader Principle, which I believe was Führerprinzip, I believe it's pronounced, which means follow everything I say and you're not allowed to disagree. So very much dictatorial. In 1929, the Nazi Party grew even bigger, especially since Joseph Goebbels became, the main propaganda guy in it. Thanks, Joseph. Prick. And they really utilised the Wall Street crash in 1929, because not only did the Wall Street crash affect Americans, but a lot of European countries, especially Germany. So when Germany was made to pay reparations, they were struggling. So in America in 1924, they decided to create something called the Dawes Plan, which they kind of loaned Germany money so they could pay their reparations. Of course, when everything crashed, they couldn't provide the Germans with money, and Germany was stumped. So of course there was huge German unemployment. From the winter of 1929, it went from 1.4 million to 2 million, which pushed even more votes for Hitler, because he believed in, German society and we can get out of this and I will help Germany. I will get us out of this depression. I will make it so that we don't have to borrow money from the Americans. So now it gets a bit more political. Like I said, Hitler wanted to get more into the political section of it all. In March 1930, German Chancellor Hermann Müller resigned. He resigned because this unemployment problem was so vast, so difficult to, fix, that he just went, no. And then he was replaced by a man called Heinrich Brunner. I'm really struggling with these German pronunciations, I'm sorry. And on my notes I wrote his name and I pointed an arrow to him and I wrote naff as fuck. He was a very, very naff chancellor, to put it lightly. He cut unemployment pay, government expenditure, he cut wages in a country where so many people were unemployed already. And of course this caused the rise of extremist parties like the Nazis, but also there was a communist party in Germany at the time. And now, the Nazis have the brown shirts, their own private army, so did the communists. They had something called the Communist Red Fighting League, and they clashed so much with the Nazis. So much. So this is when the Nazi Party really starts getting into the Reichstag. In 1928, the Nazis had 12 seats. 12 seats in the Reichstag. And in July of 1932, they had 230 seats. But you're probably wondering, how did it get there so quickly in just a matter of, 4 or 5 years? And I'll tell you why. Supported by everyone in Germany, everyone had a benefit when it came to supporting the Nazis. Rich people didn't have to worry about communists. Workers were being supported and given jobs. Rural areas believed in, the Germans and the Nazis believed in German manufacturing and giving these people more money. Nationalists were bitty about the Treaty of Versailles and having to pay reparations all the time, and Hitler was willing to give them a way out of that. Not to mention the propaganda by Goebbels. He was, sad to say, a very good person at propaganda. He was very good at making Hitler to be some sort of godly guy and, how he can solve all your problems by just talking to him. But also, with this propaganda, there was a massive scapegoat blaming scheme going on of, it's all the Jews' faults, it's all the minorities. If you're not Aryan, don't bother. The reason why Germany failed was because of the Jews, and we will get rid of them. That sounds like a horrible way to put it, but that's exactly how the Nazis viewed how they're going to rule Germany. They go, if we got rid of these people, it'll be much better. But also, Hitler kind of had this thing of togetherness with the German community. It was called Volksgemeinschaft, I believe, all rusty, and which basically roughly translates into people's community. But also, if you know about later on in Hitler's career, he created the Autobahn, which was amazing for German economy at the time, and Volkswagen means people's car. It was very much all about the people to him and how he could provide for them in order for him to seem better. And I also wrote my note, SA : being bastards. So the SA got more brutal, they were breaking up more parties, being more violent. If you didn't believe so-and-so, we will hurt you. So now we're getting to the last part within the last couple of months of, just before Hitler got into power. And this is a little bit confusing, so you might need to keep your ears out for the names and stuff. So, there was a President Hindenburg. He was like higher than a chancellor, kind of oversaw everything that was going on. In 1932, in April, an election went ahead, and Hitler came second to Hindenburg. So he was very, very close, very close. And in May, the NAF guy, Brüning, resigned, and Hindenburg replaced him with a man called Franz von Papen, who was a conservative. In July there was Reichstag elections. Hitler won 230 seats, which was the majority, yet von Papen was still the chancellor, which Hitler did not like at all. In November of that same year, the Reichstag did another election. The Nazis lost seats, but was still the majority at 196. And December of 1932 and January of 33, when things started to happen. In December, von Papen resigned. Didn't want to do it. Hindenburg got Kurt von Schleicher. Oh, so rough. Who was an army general, so he became the new chancellor. And what this guy tried to do was befriend one of the higher-up Nazis, Gregor Strasser, who I mentioned earlier. He's like, oh, if you be my vice-chancellor, we can split up the Nazi party a little bit and stop it from becoming such a big control. Hitler made Gregor say no. So von Schleicher's, rule over Germany did not last long. Nazis becoming more and more popular every single day in Germany. And finally, in January of 1933, von Papen and Hindenburg went to Hitler and made him chancellor, with von Papen as vice-chancellor. And that is where it starts. But also, ironically, how it ends. Because this video is the rise of Hitler, not the life of Hitler. So if you noticed, in my notes I didn't go too into detail. I had to symbolise it because a lot of things happened, and I remember doing this for GCSE history, so if anyone who's watching this is doing GCSE history, I passed. That's the stuff you need to know. That's about it. Don't worry about the rest of it. You need to learn a bit about the Autobahn, but that's what you need to know, and then you'll be fine. I hope you enjoyed. Sorry if I messed up the German. I'm not German, as if you can't tell. I'm very, very English. But I hope you enjoy. This is my second ever video. And I'm not really sick anymore, so that's great. Cheers.